Go buy juice.
That'd be a hell of a sponsorship. You just like create a path around town, but you get sponsorships with local companies. You like make them go get a taco at Torchy's, and then they meet you at Juice Land and get a juice, and then they're like, you have to walk 2 miles to the middle of the, this pathway, and I'll be waiting there. So it's like you've made them do exercise and have a nourishing meal and support local business. This is great.
Yeah, everyone benefits from that.
Yeah, right.
Except for maybe you're spending money, but it's going to local businesses, so it's
maybe. I mean, you can figure out. It's the way we spend money when we do, like, taking classes. We spend money. Going places takes money. In my case with sketch, buying props takes money.
Yeah.
But if you're just creating this thing, like, it doesn't cost me any money to make a PDF. It doesn't cost me any money to make a website. Well, I guess it does. But I mean, like, put content up. Thankfully you don't get charged per post.
Yeah. Luckily.
So, like, you could easily do that kind of thing. I don't know. It's just so fascinating. Mm-hmm. It brings me back to, like, the hard work that, like, is totally required to do this kind of stuff. Like, it's all... I appreciate the people who want to have fun and do the fun, but I really feel like, if you want to do something, you have to put in a lot of effort. You have to really make it good. Yeah, I appreciate having this conversation with you. I was having a personal bit of a lull myself, and I'm feeling renewed. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm feeling renewed by sitting in with that Meow Wolf panel, because they talked about, like, suffering for 7 or 8 years and being starving artists and switching from, like, romanticizing starving artists suffering to now they're doing, like, really well. And they're processing like 500,000 people through their art installation every year.
Whoa.
And they have like 200 employees.
Wow.
In that balance of doing art and making money.
It's the one reason why I would go to Santa Fe.
You should go. Santa Fe's beautiful.
I've never been. I've gone to California,
mm-hmm.
but I've never been in any of the states between Texas and California. So I've never been in that area of the country. I'm fascinated with the Arizona, New Mexico area.
Yeah, Santa Fe's worth it. I'm going in a couple weeks. My girlfriend and I are celebrating our 1-year anniversary in Santa Fe. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Are you gonna drag her to Meow Wolf?
I am. Yes.
Does she know? Is it secret? Should we cut that out?
She knows. Yeah, it's not a secret.
Let's be honest. Girlfriends and my husband for sure never make it this far into the process. It's fine.
Yeah. Agreed. But I'm excited for her to share that, something that feels like really special to me.
Yeah. Ooh, that's fascinating.
I just can't tell you like how special like these interactive things are. I don't know, it taps into something like very childlike or very personal, and all feels really good.
Interesting. I would be super. I'm gonna see if I can't look up like the psychology of it, because I'm really fascinated with that kind of stuff. I need to get into studying more about audience and the way people react to stuff, because I find that what you're saying the audience for this kind of thing wants seems to not be what I'm seeing in my audiences. Yeah. So I'm like, how do I both find these audiences and also what do I need to give them to keep them around?
Yes.
So I wonder how to do that kind of thing. It's fascinating. 7 or 8 years makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I've been doing the neighborhood for almost 8 years now, so maybe I'll crest over it when I hit I'll hit our 10-year anniversary, and finally I'll figure out how to make money from it.
Yeah, I know that struggle all too well.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. I'm of a mind, especially in the interest of being like, I turned 40 this year, and so I'm still doing this, and at this point I refuse to do other things. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm always like seeing little jobs that are happening in the world and find them fascinating and want to do them. Like I told my husband the other day I wanted to bake bread in a bakery.
Oh,
and
cool.
he was like, what? Why? you don't need to bake bread in a bakery. And I was like, but wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't that be a cool job? Like, what? You just, like, punching dough, and you're like, and bread smells. It's so cool. Like, that could be great.
Do you know Doug Eaton Landis? I'm going to name drop him because he's great.
No, I don't know who Doug E. Landis is.
Doug Landis is a baker, and he loves talking bread. He will talk about bread for hours. It's the most fascinating thing. So if you're very interested in...
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I've been primarily... I've done sort of odd jobs since I graduated from college, which clearly is many years ago. But my primary effort of everything has been theater. Like, I've only been doing improv for about 9 or 10 years, but previous to that I did like straight plays, musicals, and I worked backstage. I was a stage manager for many years. And it's like, so that's how I made money. Straight out of college, I got a job as a stage manager, and I lived for 2 years in New York City just stage managing.
Wow,
and
cool.
so I was like living the dream, like I full-time theater work and paying the bills with it. And I was like, this is fucking great. And so I've tried to maintain that. So because that's such a part of my life, and my husband knows that, when he met me, he knew it was part of my life. Now I'm like a little bit older, and also I have the baby, so I have a lot of like, I'll be like, let's get out of the house, let's go to some random place, and I'll wheel you around and we'll look at stuff. And sometimes I see someone who's having a good time at their job, and I'm like, wouldn't it be neat to work here? And he's like, theater's what you do. Stay focused. And I'm like, but a baker might be fun. And he's like, no, you've got to stay focused on the theater thing. Don't get distracted.
I feel that same way. There's so many things that I want to do. And so many things, yeah.
Plus, if you try to have a good time in a day job, like, it can make all the difference. Mm-hmm. Like, day jobs can be horrible and dumb, and you can hate your life. But I feel like most of the people who are, posting on Facebook every Monday, oh, I can't believe Mondays, and, like, that they're just not... Either they need to switch the industry that they're working in and potentially a pay cut for joy, or they need to just find what's fun in the bullshit that they do.
Yes.
Like, it's like, totally okay, agree. Sure. You sit in, like the job that I had, you sit in a room by yourself and enter data. But they need that, man. Mm-hmm. Somebody, the person who wrote this form is relying on you, man, to get that in the computer so that next time this guy comes in, this information is available for them on their little iPad. Like, oh, you're right. This is important work, right? Like, find what's important in your job, or like find something that's cool that you want to do. Some things that I really, especially because I've been sort of a poor artist for my whole life. What's your day job?
I work as a writer.
Oh, okay. So
I work as a writer, which is fancy talk. I do instructional design at a company that...
Fancy talk.
That's fancy talk. For a company that makes phones and tablets.
Oh, so you write the book that explains to me how to use that?
That explains the employees that might explain it, how for you to use it. So, like, internal training stuff.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. Because you really rely on the people to read what you said and actually be able to communicate it to people.
Yes.
Because that's the difficult part. I thought it was like, oh, wow, you write the book that only grandmothers read. That's so interesting, where they're like, well, I just got this iPhone, and I'm reading this 87-page manual to figure out how it works. I was going to be like, all grandmothers appreciate you.
Yeah.
But no, it's the employees. That's really fascinating.
Who may talk to that grandmother who wants to know how to reset their smartphone.
Interesting. Yeah, I suppose it's better than a book is to have a person.
Yeah.
I like that you say you're a writer, but it sounds like you're a writer who makes money, as opposed to me, who's a writer who just writes screenplays and puts them in a folder that says, hey, screenplays Amy wrote, and no one reads them ever. But even in that, to find the, like, reason why it's important, like, yeah, of course it's important. It needs to happen. Phones are like our life now. Like, people need to know how to do this, especially stupid customer service people who never get paid well and probably aren't of a high enough education sometimes to like understand half the stuff, and yet they're the ones who have to communicate it. Oh, that is really important. I don't know. I think it's important too. I'm thinking about raising my child and the idea of that. I've had a lot of jobs that were like rando, like, I worked when I first moved to town, I worked in a cafe that no one went to. We had maybe 4 people that came in each day that I worked there. I worked there for 3 months. And it was myself at the register and a Mexican woman who only spoke Spanish in the kitchen. And we were alone in this like house that was turned into a cafe for all day long. And she didn't speak English, and I spoke Spanish that I learned in high school. Mm-hmm. So I winged it. And we talked in broken Spanish 8 hours a day for 3 months, and no one came in. And yeah, sure, I could have hated that. I could have been like, this is the worst. Why do I have this job? It doesn't pay enough. No one's coming in. But it was like, you know what's cool? Talking to Lourdes for 9 hours a day, practicing my Spanish, and then getting paid for it. Like, she doesn't have to cook anything if nobody asks. So we just sit there and just be like, I wonder if anyone will come in. Who knows? And then we just go on some tangent like this where it's like talking about life and figuring that out. But, you got to find your joy in each one. That's why I'm like, ooh, bakers. I bet you it's like 3 or 4 people in the back room, and they're all just chatting about life and hitting dough. And I don't know. That's just little things. I'm going to call this Doug E. Landis guy.
You should call it Doug Eaton Landis.
Eaton Landis, sorry.
Landis. I was talking to him the other day, and
is he an improviser?
He is an improviser.
Huh.
Yeah. And he was like, I was like, hey, how's the bread thing going? He's like, I love it. He's like, I won't bore you with me talking about bread. I was like, no, tell me about bread. I know nothing about baking. And we didn't have enough time to talk, but I just enjoyed his energy towards his job and what he likes, and like unapologetically like loved it.
Yeah.
And it was great.
I think there's something nice about people who have excitement. I think that's probably too why I was drawn to the improv world and why I stay there, is that like the people who will accept, let's try this weird thing, or like, let's make believe even though we're in our 30s. Like, yeah, this is great. It's like people that want to find joy in the world. There's so many people around that are just negative and want to say bad things. I mean, social media is chock full of it.
Yes.
If you have hatred in your heart, join Facebook, because it's where you'll find the other people who want to bitch about the world. But it's like, okay, but instead, how about you have a nice day? Like, try your best. Or find joy in something. I worry that it's an innate thing. Like, I always try to convince people that they can turn it around. But I've had students and I've had friends who, much as I try to help them see the brighter side, they just don't. I don't know. I don't know if it's innate or learned or...
It's a good question. Yeah, something that you either maybe learned or picked up from your parents, or saw them make one decision one time and it allows you to now see the positive spin on things. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the parent thing. Like, you see the way your parents react to stuff, and if they're just, like, never seeing the, silver lining, you're never going to see it.
Yeah, and everything in moderation. Some things you can't find joy in. Some things you just, like, have to be like, okay, this is shitty. Like, it's okay for me to be sad, or it's okay for me to be angry. But it's also okay for me to be joyful about these things that are making me happy.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of things that, rightfully are shitty. But yeah, just to wallow in that. Interesting. Yeah, my mind is going 1,000. Like, I was like, I want to talk about all of this immersive stuff, but we have spent a sweet hour and a half chatting, and I feel like, we had a great time. I had a great time talking to you. Thank you for sharing a bit of your life story. I didn't get too much into, too many of the specifics, but I feel like the conversation we've had about the audience and stuff is really opening my mind to something, to a lesson I needed to learn. Audience, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, we have a tough time.
I would talk about immersion stuff or audience things or storytelling all day long. I love.
Super cool. Super cool. Well, thank you, Matthew Stoner, for chatting with us. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Yes But Why.